Welcome back to the Here's Help radio show. If you would like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. And now, here's your host of this week's edition of the Here's Help radio show.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Our next guest today has been on the program a couple of times over the last 3 or 4 years. She is extremely well versed on autism, and we know that it's Breast Cancer Month, and we have nothing but great things. Please support all of the local breast cancer initiatives and walks that's going on this weekend. They have done a great, or this month rather, they have done a great job of branding the pink and breast cancer and everything else. Susan G. Komen, congratulations on all the success. Today we're going to talk a little bit with Stacey Hoaglund about, well, Ms. Hoaglund, you are so involved in so many things that I want to cover a little bit of each thing. So you're involved with Family Network on Disabilities, the Autism Notebook Magazine, Family Autism Network, and the Autism Society of Florida. And today I learned that you also have a son who is or has autism as well, who is gracing us with his presence in the studio today. He will not be on a mic, but I'm hoping that I can talk him into coming in the future to talk about whatever it is that Zach wants to talk about. But Stacey, tell us a little bit about you, and obviously you, just because you have a son that has autism doesn't mean you had to get so involved in everything. I know a lot of people that don't. Why did you get so involved in all of this?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say it's great to be here today, to be able to talk to everybody about autism, because it's certainly something that's near and dear to my heart. Prior to having my children, I actually worked for Broward Schools. So I did have some experience within the school system. And then when my younger son turned out that we were going to be dealing and living with autism, I sort of had to become involved in advocacy, because if you have a child with a disability and you're in the public school system, you really have to understand what your rights are in order to really get what they need out of the public school system.
But Ms. Hoaglund, am I correct in saying that they're out there in the public school system, whether it's Broward or Dade or any public school system, the tools, whatever you need is there?
Yes.
It's just a matter of getting it and going through the bureaucracy or whatever you got to do to get to it, because I know a lot of people that their kids are in parochial schools or private schools or whatever it is you want to call those schools. But when it comes to parochial, private, religious, all those other schools, they really don't. Many of them don't have the resources or the funding to deal with a disability.
Right.
So I just urge as many people as possible that to please find Ms. Hoaglund. Ms. Hoaglund, we'll give you phone numbers and websites and anything like that. But it's out there. The tools are out there. It's just a matter of negotiating how to get those tools. Because I'm always approached, what if my child here? And I always tell people, and I want to make sure that I'm right, listen, the public school system, if you have a child with a disability, that's where you want to go.
Right. It is certainly the best place to be. But if every child got what they really needed, we would frankly have a bankrupt public school system, because of the funding that comes down from the state, from the federal government, to educate children with disabilities is frankly just not enough. So it's a never-ending battle, even at the state and federal level, to get our government to appropriately fund public education. So what we have to deal with it on a one-on-one situation with a parent is just educating the parent on those rights so that they know how to exercise them, so they can have those open means of communication with their school and explain to their school what it is their child needs, and to be able to recognize what they're entitled to receive, so that they can get what their kids need. So my position with Family Network on Disabilities, which I got involved with just a short couple of years after my son was diagnosed, that's what we do. We help parents understand their rights. We're a nonprofit organization. We attend individualized education plan meetings with parents. So we're there in the meetings. Those are IEP meetings.
IEP meetings, yes.
Right. And so we sit there with them. We explain how to write an IEP, how to get what it is that their child needs. And some parents even need help identifying what their child needs, because some parents, they just have so much going on in their own personal lives that they just don't have the time. Especially, so many families living in South Florida are living with multi-generations under one roof. So being able to help take care of grandma, work full-time, take care of maybe a few children, one of whom might have autism, is a huge challenge for our families living today.
Do you have any budget for advertising or marketing? Because many times when I was at Miami Edison, I dealt with a lot of IEP meetings where I was mandated to go by law because there had to be a certain teacher in the room. And I also, I remember thinking that a lot of these times the parents were just outgunned and outmanned. They really, they didn't have any representation. They didn't have the knowledge. They didn't have, like you said, they didn't know. They don't know the bureaucracy. Do you guys have any paperwork that you distribute to the schools in order to tell these parents at your service that Family Network on Disabilities is available to accompany them on these IEP meetings?
Yeah, well, we try. We
Right.
are, we are a nonprofit and we're funded by, county government. So it's always, our own advocating just to keep ourselves going.
Right.
So we don't have that a lot. We're not able to do that a lot, but what we do like to do is attend different community events and we'll distribute our flyers there. And most of our clients really come from word of mouth. Because a parent has a hard time in school, they walk outside, they see another parent, and they tell them, oh my God, just guess what just happened in my meeting? And then they'll say, oh, you need an advocate. And then they'll contact us. Now, and there are private pay advocates out there, so if a parent does a Google search, they'll find Family Network on Disabilities, and then they'll find some others, they'll find some private advocacy, they United Cerebral Palsy, Legal Aid Services, they also Parent Miami-Dade. So there are other services that are very similar to ours that are also publicly funded. So I encourage every parent to seek one of them out, because even if you don't think that you have a problem at your school where you really need an advocate, almost every parent could use some hand-holding and somebody just to shine the light on some of the things that they could be getting, but they don't even know to ask for them.
No, I just think I really caught my ear when you said the IEP meetings, because I just think that is something that if the parents knew about, and if they had an advocate, whether it's from the Family Network on Disabilities or a private one or whatever you're paying, it's almost like having a lawyer there that knows exactly what is available in the system for you, because the other people in the room have their job and their responsibilities. It's almost like a guardian ad litem for a child, except for a parent that is available, everything that's available. And it's also, I want to emphasize that it's about all disabilities when it comes to that. It's not just autism.
Well, it's all developmental disabilities. So years ago, we used to be able to cover those with disabilities such as ADD, ADHD, but because that's not considered a developmental disability. So our grant does not allow us to cover those people. Now, there's a fee for service, so if you had a child with attention deficit disorder, with nothing else, because a lot of my kids, they have ADD, they have autism, they have, other issues. But if the child only has attention deficit disorder, we could still provide services, but it just wouldn't be on our sliding fee scale. So there would be a fee for service for that. So we help as much as we can, but we're kind of tied into our grant because we're publicly funded, so we have to operate certain ways.
The voice you're hearing is Stacey Hoaglund. She is with Family Network on Disabilities, as well as a multitude of other autism agencies. Tell me a little bit about the Autism Notebook, which is a magazine that you put together. Are you the editor here too?
Yes, I'm the editor. It's a fabulous, fabulous...
Zach, does she sleep at night? Do you actually see her?
I don't believe I do.
I think she hangs upside down for 20 minutes once a night, because this woman has like 9 jobs. So tell me, how long has this been around, the Autism Notebook? It's for free. You edit this
free.
every 2 months?
Every other month, right.
So this is every 2 months you prop one of these out?
Yes.
And you put this, you don't tell me you do the graphic design as well.
No, I don't.
No,
I don't.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, I just do the editing, and it's really, it's a beautiful publication, and I love it.
Where can we get it? The Autism Notebook, yes.
Well, the Autism Notebook, if you have a child that goes to a school that has an autism program in Broward or Miami-Dade, if you're not currently getting it, if you just contact us, we will get it to your school.
How do they contact you?
And it is free. If you just go on to Autism Notebook.
Yes, the website is, hold on just a second. The email is broward@autismnotebook.com, so I'm assuming the website is autismnotebook.com. So if you go on there and request the Autism Notebook.
Or just Facebook us.
Yeah,
we're all over Facebook,
yeah,
so
I'm
that's
sure.
really like the quickest way to
No,
get
I
us.
just think I've had so many folks on here, but this is the first. Are you the first to make this happen?
Yes.
Yes, I was going to say that this
Well,
is something
it's actually a very interesting story how it got started, because a mom, Lori Ortiz, she had attended one of my autism support groups years ago, and was when her son was first diagnosed, and she didn't know where to go or what to do.
Sure.
And she attended the group, and we did our thing. Robin Levine, who works with me at Family Network on Disabilities, we were running the group, and we were telling everybody, how you should get started in intervention. And then I hadn't seen Lori for a couple years. And then she shows up one day and she says, I have a magazine idea, and I'd love it if you would be my editor. And so I said, okay, that's not what I do. And she goes, no, but I've seen, what you've written, because I've been published before. And she said, I think you would be fabulous. You know a lot of people. And so for somebody who isn't really involved within the autism community, it might be more challenging to put such a magazine together. But because I've been involved for so long with the Autism Society of America, I know wonderful speakers from around the country. So it's pretty easy for me to find people to write on the articles. So, but it's fabulous, and it's one of those really feel good things. And we get countless phone calls and emails from teachers, families, therapists telling us how much they love it. And my favorite thing is that it's free.
Yes.
So, and you could pick it up at any Whole Foods market as well.
Whole Foods Market, and it comes out every couple of months. I'm holding the October-November 2014 issue called the Autism Notebook South Florida, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it puts together a lot of things for people that really wouldn't know where to look, to be honest with you. Tell me a little bit about the Family Autism Network, and how does that differ from these two things?
Well, Family Autism Network is a fairly new organization.
You had a little free time there to create something else?
No, I didn't create that. I was on the board, and it's just a fabulous organization because it's totally parent driven. So there's nobody on the board to further themselves financially or professionally. It's parents.
All parents.
It's all parents, and our goal is to be able to provide parents a variety of different support. But for instance, we just finished a series of 3 surfing events that people just die to get into. It's fabulous. We have a surfing instructor, his school comes out and helps the kids, and it's amazing because kids with significant autism who may have a lot of behaviors, nonverbal.
Why surfing? How do you get involved with surfing?
They just take to the water like fish. And you see these kids with these significant impairments on a board surfing. And when they're out there and they're having such a fabulous time, you do not see the autism. You just see them for being a kid, just having a great time doing what they love with their family. So it's a great event because the families are able to socialize and to hook up with other families, and so then they don't feel like they're isolated in their travels through autism. Family Autism Network also does days at libraries because a lot of times our kids don't get to go to libraries because because some of them, they have self-stimulatory behavior where they make noises. They don't really understand that I need to be quiet in here. And so a lot of times a parent might take them, but then they're asked to leave. So we've created a day for families to be able to go to the library. We have older kids with autism who will read books to the younger kids with autism. And it's just a really fabulous event. It's just, the way we look at it is everybody benefits. The library loves having us there. And the siblings come out, and it's just a really great, fun event. We also do movie days, so where it'll be a new release movie once a month. So it's not like we're seeing old movies; we're seeing new release movies, and we have the theater to ourselves, so that if the kids can't be quiet in a movie, because that's a lot of times same thing with the library, is they sometimes they cannot regulate their volume, and so they'll go to a regular movie and they'll be asked to leave. People will complain. This way they go and they could just be themselves. We don't have to worry about somebody's going to say something or do something. They could just go and be themselves. And they love it. It's fabulous.
And the last thing you are associated with is the Autism Society of Florida, of which you sit on that board, I'm assuming?
Yes. And that, what we try to target is systemic issues across the state of Florida. We're involved very heavily in legislation. So we're always.
How is that going, Ms. Hoaglund, as far as Tallahassee and the money and the legislation or the lack thereof?
Yeah, every legislative season, it's a fight. We push very hard over the last couple of years to get the Agency for Persons with Disabilities to work with and on the Medicaid system. There's a Medicaid waiver system that for people with developmental disabilities where it waives your income. So it's not based upon income, it's based upon the person's disability. So people with autism could and should be able to receive Medicaid services that would pay for therapies that they so greatly need, especially some of the really behaviorally challenging kids. You've got these families that cannot take their child out in public because it is such a challenge. They really need the extra support to do that. And if they receive the services through Medicaid, they would have that life where they could go run up to Publix because they'd have the extra support with them and not be worried about what was going to happen when the child wanted something on the shelf but didn't understand that they couldn't have it today because there's not enough money to have it today. And then, you have to deal with the behavior in there.
How's Tallahassee been over the last 4 or 5 years as far as dishing out money or dishing out?
Always, complaining that we don't have enough money. I don't have enough money for that. So right now there's a 20,000 person waiting list for Medicaid waiver services in the state. So it's huge. And we were able to manage, a couple years back, we did manage to get through legislation for insurance coverage for people with autism. But that legislation was really not what we wanted it to be. It was something that was sort of pushed through Tallahassee, but probably should have been looked at a little bit more carefully because it doesn't cover private insurances, which there are a lot of people in the state who have private insurance. And so they don't fall under that law. So it's a problem.
Tell me a little bit about your how has being so heavily involved, this is a question for Zach if he ever comes back, how has this being so involved with this affected or not affected your at home?
Well, I tell my son every day that he amazes me on a daily basis and that I certainly would not be who I am without him. And I've had teachers even that he's had over the years say to me that they have learned so much more from him than he will ever have learned from
I hear that all the time, Ms. Hoaglund. I really do, whether it's from kids with autism or whether it's mentors that mentor a young man or a young woman, that every single time the volunteer or the individual that gets involved or the teacher learns as much or more from the little brother, little sister, or the young man or young woman with autism, or anything along those lines, because it's always something that they get back.
Right.
As opposed to, and that's why I would love to have, maybe even 2-3 times a year, to have somebody, because you can always have a million network on disabilities, but when you have a young man that actually has it, or a young woman, and they hear you speak and they hear them, function, there's still a lot of ignorance out there.
Oh, no, I know.
There's still a lot of ignorance out there as to, and there's a broad spectrum of it as well, and I think it's getting broader. One more question, because my nephew has autism, and a good friend of mine's son also suffers from autism, and I know you've forgotten more about this than I'll ever know, but the incidence between male and female, is it a big difference?
It's still 4-to-1, according
4
to
to 1 male
research.
versus female. Because I was just always wondering, it seems like the people that I know are all men or boys. I haven't seen too many women or females with the, whatever you want to call it. But I've always noticed that. But please give us the website and the phone number of, I guess, one of your 16 jobs that you do or things that you function.
Well, I think that probably if you contact the Autism Society of Florida, they will direct you to really anything that you could possibly need. So that's www.autismfl.com. And all of these agencies you can find on Facebook, which is really, to me, the easiest way to go these days, because it's an easy search, and then you can just like it, and then you can get all the information that they're distributing on a daily or weekly basis right through there.
Stacey Hoaglund, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and talk to us as you always do about autism, and thank you on behalf of the rest of us for all the work that you do. And hopefully you can talk Zach into coming in and talking at his convenience whatever he wants to talk about, which I think would be a great thing. I really do.
My pleasure, and I will definitely work on Zach.
Yes, I'd appreciate it if you would. This is the Here's Help Radio Show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Here's Help Radio Show.
You already know that Padilla spices are all about the soul of cooking. Rich in flavor, aroma, and color. As appealing in taste as they are in value. But do you know about the new award-winning Padilla Holy Smokes Pork and Meat Rub? Crafted with a unique blend of the finest ingredients from around the world, this delicious smoked sea salt spice mix is available now at fine retailers everywhere. Try Padilla's new Holy Smokes Pork and Meat Rub today. You'll say, Holy smokes!
This is Kathy Fernandez Rundle, your state attorney. Human trafficking exists. It's occurring in our community. We need your help. Call 305-350-5567, an anonymous hotline. Help us save our children. Thank you.
Does your hot sauce leave you flat? Footy's hot sauce is packed with flavor. Footy's hot sauce is made from only the finest ingredients. There's no trans fats, no carbs, no sugars, just great big taste. Footy's hot sauce, made from a recipe perfected over 25 years. Use Footy's hot sauce in soups, sauces, or straight up. Footy's hot sauce can spice up any dish. Buy Footy's hot sauce today at Publix and Hooters. Just look for the familiar yellow cap and brown label. Footy's hot sauce. All proceeds benefit Here's Help Incorporated.
Welcome back to this week's Here's Help radio show. If you need help or know of someone who is having a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you could call our admissions office at 305-685-8201 extension 225. And now, here's your host of this week's edition of the Here's Help radio show.
Thank you so much for listening to the program today. I would like to thank our guests, Paul Withrow, Executive Director of Deliver the Dream. They have a big fundraiser coming up on Saturday, October 25th. Next Saturday, called The Night in the Big Apple. They will transform the whole hotel into New York. Should be a great time. If you have any questions, please log on to deliverthedream.org, or you can call 954-564-5312. Would also like to thank Jim Shedd, running for Palmetto Bay Village Council, seat number 3. Support Jim, or if you're running against him and you'd like to be on the show, we do not endorse anybody. Invite everybody. Please call us direct, 305-685-8201. But Jim's number is number 138 if you're voting for Palmetto Bay Village Council, seat number 3. Also, get out and vote, regardless of who you vote for. Use your absentee ballot, get to the polls, do what you got to do, because we are not showing up at the polls. And I'd like to thank Miss Stacey Hoaglund with a number of autism-related functions, and especially the Autism Notebook, which she created, is something that kind of puts everything together, and is something like a Yellow Pages, I would think, for folks who are involved with autism, who have a child that suffers from autism. So thank you for listening to the program today. I'm your host, Louis Espinosa. Thanks for listening, and you'll hear us next Sunday.